Recognize the gentleman from Iowa, Mr. King, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thank you, Director, for your testimony here before this committee. Again, listening in the exchange between yourself and Mr. Ice, I'd just like to confirm that you were confirming that Mr. Combetta made the Reddit posts.
Well, I'm confirming it. I think he did, is my understanding. But yeah, that's my understanding. I think he did. I haven't dug into that myself. I've been focused on a lot of other stuff, as we've talked about, but I think that's right.
I certainly can accept that, and I'd like to just go back to the interview with Hillary Clinton and how that all came about on that July 2nd date. But first, I'm looking at the dates of the conditional immunity documents that I've reviewed, and I see that Mr. Pagliano had one dated December 22nd and another one dated December 28th. Can you tell me what brought about that second agreement, why the first one wasn't adequate, and if there was an interview with Mr. Pagliano in between those dates, so December 22nd and 28th of 2015?
I think what it is, and Mr. Gowdy and Mr. Marino will recognize this term, the first one is what we call a Queen for a Day agreement, which was to govern an interview, so limited use immunity for an interview. And then I believe the second one is the agreement for use immunity in connection with the investigation. So it's sort of a tryout for him to get interviewed, for prosecutors and investigators to poke at him, and then the second one is the agreement they reached. I think that's right.
And to the extent of, if we're going to go any further, we'll go off of the December 28th agreement. That'd be how I would understand that in your description.
I think they're both important to him and his lawyer, but the first is an intermediate step to the second.
Okay, thank you. Then, were you aware of the President's statement on October 9th, 2015, when he is reported, this is reported on October 9th of 2015, that he said that Hillary Clinton would not have endangered national security?
Obviously, I don't know the dates, but I remember public reporting on a statement like that.
In the fall in October, and I'll state it as the report I have is October 9th. Then again, on April 10th, 2016, it was reported that the President had said that Hillary Clinton was careless, but not intentionally endangering national security. Were you aware of that statement as well?
Yes.
And then I'd like you to, if you could characterize the interview sometime around, I believe, May 16th, it was reported that you said you intended to interview Hillary Clinton personally.
I never said that because I never intended that. And I'm sure I didn't say that publicly.
Were you aware of the report that was your public statement?
Yes. I think I read it and smiled about it. People imagine the FBI director does things that the FBI director doesn't do.
In fact, and I'm not disputing your answer, I'm just simply, for the record, this is a record that is dated September 28th, 2016, Buffalo News. It's got your picture on it, and takes us back to, that's when it was printed, excuse me, takes us back to a document, May 16th, 2016, has a picture of you in the front of it, and I'll ask you to introduce it into the record. It says, FBI Director James Comey told reporters that he would personally interview Hillary Clinton, quote, in coming days, close quote. And I'd ask unanimous consent to introduce this article into the record.
Without objection, it will be made.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And not as a matter of indictment, I don't dispute your word on this. It's what the public expectation was hanging out there is my real point. And then with that public expectation, I think the public was surprised to learn about who was or wasn't in that room. Can you tell us who was in the room involved in either listening to or conducting the interview of Hillary Clinton on that date of July 2nd, 2016?
I can't tell you for sure. I can give you a general sense. The witness and her legal team, and then on our side of the table, our agents, prosecutors from the Department of Justice. I don't know if any of our analysts were in there or not, but sort of our team, their team.
And how many of your team, how many FBI investigators?
I don't know for sure sitting here. I think we probably had 8 to 10 people on our side, prosecutors and agents. That's a knowable fact. I just don't know it sitting here.
Prosecutors. Did Loretta Lynch have her people in there?
If you mean Department of Justice lawyers, yes, sure.
So how many Department of Justice lawyers would have been there?
I don't know for sure. Again, I think it was probably about 8 people, probably about 4 lawyers, about 4 from the FBI.
Okay.
But again, I could be wrong.
I think I have. So about around 4 investigators, around 4 potential prosecutors from the DOJ, a couple of attorneys for Hillary Clinton herself. That would set the scene fairly closely.
I think that Secretary Clinton's team was bigger than that. I don't know the exact number.
Okay. And then when you received the counsel as to the recommendation you were to make to Loretta Lynch, I'm going to just go through this quickly. You didn't review a videotape, an audio tape, or a transcript, so you would have had to rely upon the briefings from the people that were in the room who would have been your investigative team.
Yes, the agents who conducted the interview, yes.
And they were briefing off of notes that they had taken, which are now in the SCIF, but redacted.
Right, they write them up in what's called an FBI 302.
And so Loretta Lynch had her people in the room, and they would have had access to your investigators in the room. And out of that came a piece of advice to you that she had already said she was going to hand that responsibility over to you as director of the FBI as to making the recommendation, which turned out to be the decision on whether or not to indict Hillary Clinton.
The time of the gentleman has expired. The director will answer the question.
I'm not sure I'm following it entirely. There was no advice to me from the Attorney General or any of the lawyers working for her. My team formulated a recommendation that was communicated to me, and the FBI reached its conclusion as to what to do, uncoordinated from the Department of Justice.
Even though Justice was in the room with your investigators, and I'd make that final comment, and I'd yield back. Thank you, Chairman.